In this video, I will read to you the Metallica Wikipedia page as of September 6, 2020. We will go through the history of Metallica, current and former band members, the discography, awards and nominations, the Napster controversy, the Metallica movies, their current situation and dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, style and lyrical themes, and lastly, their legacy and influence. This wiki page has been broken down to 2 videos. You will find a link to video number 2 in the description below.
If you like what you're here and see, please help our channel grow by subscribing and joining our Patreon. Links in the description.
Metallica is an American heavy metal band. The band was formed in 1981 in Los Angeles by vocalist/guitarist James Hetfield and drummer Lars Ulrich, and has been based in San Francisco for most of its career. The band's fast tempos, instrumentals and aggressive musicianship made them one of the founding big 4 bands of thrash metal, alongside Megadeth, Anthrax, and Slayer. Metallica's current lineup comprises founding members and primary songwriters Hetfield and Ulrich, longtime lead guitarist Kirk Hammett, and bassist Robert Trujillo. Guitarist Dave Mustaine, who went on to form Megadeth after being fired from the band, and bassist Ron McGovney, Cliff Burton, who died in a bus accident in Sweden in 1986, and Jason Newsted are former members of the band. Metallica earned a growing fan base in the underground music community and won critical acclaim with its first 5 albums. The band's third album, Master of Puppets, 1986, was described as one of the heaviest and most influential thrash metal albums. Its eponymous 5th album, Metallica, 1991, the band's first to root predominantly in heavy metal, appealed to a more mainstream audience, achieving substantial commercial success and selling over 16 million copies in the United States to date, making it the best-selling album of the SoundScan era. After experimenting with different genres and directions in subsequent releases, the band returned to its thrash metal roots with the release of its 9th album, Death Magnetic, which drew similar praise to that of the band's earlier albums. In 2000, Metallica led the case against the peer-to-peer file-sharing service Napster, in which the band and several other artists filed lawsuits against the service for sharing their copyright-protected material without consent. After reaching a settlement, Napster became a pay-to-use service in 2003. Metallica was the subject of the acclaimed 2004 documentary film Metallica, Some Kind of Monster, which documented the troubled production of the band's 8th album, Saint Anger, and the internal struggles within the band at the time. In 2009, Metallica was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The band wrote the screenplay for and starred in the 2013 IMAX concert film Metallica, Through the Never, in which the band performed live against a fictional thriller storyline. Metallica has released 10 studio albums, 4 live albums, a cover album, 5 extended plays, 37 singles and 39 music videos. The band has won 9 Grammy Awards from 23 nominations, and its last 6 studio albums, beginning with Metallica, have consecutively debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200. Metallica ranks as one of the most commercially successful bands of all time, having sold over 125 million albums worldwide as of 2018. Metallica has been listed as one of the greatest artists of all time by magazines such as Rolling Stone, which ranked them at number 61 on its 100 greatest artists of all time list. As of 2017, Metallica is the 3rd best-selling music artist since Nielsen's SoundScan began tracking sales in 1991, selling a total of 58 million albums in the United States.
Let's start by their history. Formation in early years, 1981 to 1982.
Metallica was formed in Los Angeles in late 1981 when Danish-born drummer Lars Ulrich placed an advertisement in a Los Angeles newspaper, The Recycler, which read, "Drummer looking for other metal musicians to jam with Tigers of Pantang, Diamond Head, and Iron Maiden." Guitarist James Hetfield and Hugh Tanner of Leather Charm answered the advertisement. Although he had not formed a band, Ulrich asked Metal Blade Records founder Brian Slagel if he could record a song for the label's upcoming compilation album Metal Massacre. Slagel accepted, and Ulrich recruited Hetfield to sing and play rhythm guitar. The band was officially formed on October 28, 1981, 5 months after Ulrich and Hetfield first met. The band name came from Ulrich's friend Ron Quintana, who was brainstorming names for a fanzine and was considering Metal Mania or Metallica. After hearing the 2 names, Ulrich wanted Metallica for his band, so he suggested Quintana use Metal Mania instead. Dave Mustaine replied to an advertisement for a lead guitarist. Ulrich and Hetfield recruited him after seeing his expensive guitar equipment. In early 1982, Metallica recorded its first original song, Hit the Lights, for the Metal Massacre 1 compilation. Hetfield played bass, rhythm guitar and sang, while Lloyd Grant was credited with a guitar solo and Lars Ulrich played drums. Metal Massacre 1 was released on June 14, 1982. Early pressings listed the band incorrectly as Metallica, angering the band. The song generated word of mouth, and the band played its first live performance on March 14, 1982, at Radio City in Anaheim, California, with newly recruited bassist Ron McGovney. Their first live success came early. They were chosen to open for British heavy metal band Saxon at one gig of their 1982 US tour. This was Metallica's second gig. Metallica recorded its first demo, Power Metal, whose name was inspired by Quintana's early business cards, in early 1982. The term thrash metal was coined in February 1984 by Kerrang! Journalist Malcolm Dome in reference to Anthrax's song Metal Thrashing Mad. Prior to this, Hetfield referred to Metallica's sound as power metal. In late 1982, Ulrich and Hetfield attended a show at the West Hollywood nightclub Whiskey A Go Go, which featured bassist Cliff Burton in the band Trauma. The two were blown away by Burton's use of a wah-wah pedal and asked him to join Metallica. Hetfield and Mustaine wanted McGovney to leave because they thought he didn't contribute anything, he just followed. Although Burton initially declined the offer, by the end of the year, he had accepted on the condition the band moved to El Cerrito in the San Francisco Bay Area. Metallica's first live performance with Burton was at the nightclub The Stone in March 1983, and the first recording to feature Burton was the Megaforce demo in 1983. Metallica was ready to record their debut album, but when Metal Blade was unable to cover the cost, they began looking for other options. Concert promoter Johnny Z. Zazula, who had heard the demo No Life Till Leather, 1982, offered to broker a record deal between Metallica and New York City-based record labels. After those record labels showed no interest, Zazula borrowed enough money to cover the recording budget and signed Metallica to his own label, Megaforce Records.
Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning, 1983 to 1985.
In May 1983, Metallica traveled to Rochester, New York to record its debut album, Metal Up Your Ass, which was produced by Paul Curcio. The other members decided to eject Mustaine from the band because of his drug and alcohol abuse and violent behavior just before the recording sessions on April 11, 1983. Exodus guitarist Kirk Hammett replaced Mustaine the same afternoon. Metallica's first live performance with Hammett was on April 16, 1983, at a nightclub in Dover, New Jersey called the Showplace. The support act was Anthrax's original lineup, which included Dan Lilker and Neil Turbin. This was the first time the two bands performed live together. Mustaine, who went on to form Megadeth, has expressed his dislike for Hammett in interviews, saying Hammett stole his job. Mustaine was pissed off because he believes Hammett became popular by playing guitar leads that Mustaine himself had written. In a 1985 interview with Metal Forces, Mustaine said, "It's real funny how Kirk Hammett ripped off every lead break I'd played on that No Life Till Leather tape and got voted #1 guitarist in your magazine." On Megadeth's debut album Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good, 1985, Mustaine included the song The Mechanics, which Metallica had previously reworked and retitled as The Four Horsemen on Kill 'Em All. Mustaine said he did this to straighten Metallica up because Metallica referred to Mustaine as a drunk and said he could not play guitar. Because of conflicts with its record label and the distributor's refusal to release an album titled Metal Up Your Ass, the album was renamed Kill 'Em All. It was released on Megaforce Records in the US and on Music for Nations in Europe, and peaked at number 155 on the Billboard 200 in 1986. Although the album was not initially a financial success, it earned Metallica a growing fan base in the underground metal scene. To support the release, Metallica embarked on the Kill 'Em All for One tour with Raven. In February 1984, Metallica supported Venom on the 7 Dates of Hell tour, during which the bands performed in front of 7,000 people at the Aardskook Festival in Zwolle, Netherlands. Metallica recorded its second studio album, Ride the Lightning, at Sweet Silence Studios in Copenhagen, Denmark. It was released in August 1984 and reached number 100 on the Billboard 200. A French printing press mistakenly printed green covers for the album, which are now considered collector's items. Mustaine received writing credit for Ride the Lightning and The Call of Cthulhu. Elektra Records under director Michael Aligo, and co-founder of Q Prime Management Cliff Bernstein, attended a Metallica concert in September 1984. They were impressed with the performance, signed Metallica to Elektra, and made the band a client of Q Prime Management. Metallica's growing success was such that the band's British label Music for Nations released Creeping Death as a limited edition single, which sold 40,000 copies as an import in the US. 2 of the 3 songs on the record, cover versions of Diamond Head's Am I Evil? and Blitzkrieg's Blitzkrieg appeared on the 1988 Elektra reissue of Kill 'Em All. Metallica embarked on its first major European tour with Tank to an average crowd of 1,300. Returning to the US, it embarked upon a tour co-headlining with Wasp and supported by Armored Saint. Metallica played its largest show at the Monsters of Rock Festival at Donington Park, England, on August 17, 1985, with Bon Jovi and Rat, playing to 70,000 people. At a show in Oakland, California, at the Day on the Green Festival, the band played to a crowd of 60,000 people.
Master of Puppets and Burton's Death, 1986 to 1987.
Metallica's third studio album, Master of Puppets, was recorded at Sweet Silence Studios and released in March 1986. The album reached number 29 on the Billboard 200 and spent 72 weeks on the chart. It was the band's first album to be certified gold on November 4, 1986, and was certified 6 times platinum in 2003. Steve Huey of AllMusic considered the album the band's greatest achievement. Following the release of the album, Metallica supported Ozzy Osbourne on a US tour. Hetfield broke his wrist while skateboarding. He continued with the tour, performing vocals, with guitar technician John Marshall playing rhythm guitar. On September 27, 1986, during the European leg of Metallica's Damage Incorporated tour, members drew cards to determine which bunks on the tour bus they would sleep in. Burton won and chose to sleep in Hammett's bunk. At around sunrise near Durarp, Sweden, the bus driver lost control and skidded, which caused the bus to overturn several times. Ulrich, Hammett, and Hetfield sustained no serious injuries. However, bassist Burton was pinned under the bus and died. Hetfield said, "I saw the bus lying right on him. I saw his legs sticking out. I freaked. The bus driver, I recall, was trying to yank the blanket out from under him to use for other people. I just went, don't fucking do that. I already wanted to kill the bus driver. I don't know if he was drunk or if he hit some ice. All I knew was, he was driving and Cliff wasn't alive anymore." Burton's death left Metallica's future in doubt. The 3 remaining members decided Burton would want them to carry on, and with the Burton family's blessings the band sought a replacement. Roughly 40 people, including Hammett's childhood friend, Les Claypool of Primus, Troy Gregory of Prong, and Jason Newsted, formerly of Flotsam and Jetsam, auditioned for the band. Newsted learned Metallica's entire set list. After the audition, Metallica invited him to Tommy's Joint in San Francisco. Hetfield, Ulrich, and Hammett decided on Newsted as Burton's replacement. Newsted's first live performance with Metallica was at the Country Club in Reseda, California. The members initiated Newsted by tricking him into eating a ball of wasabi. After Newsted joined Metallica, the band left its El Cerrito practice space, a suburban house formerly rented by sound engineer Mark Whitaker dubbed the Medley Mansion, and relocated to the adjacent cities of Berkeley and Albany before eventually settling in the Marin County city of San Rafael, north of San Francisco. Metallica finished its tour in the early months of 1987. In March 1987, Hetfield again broke his wrist while skateboarding, forcing the band to cancel an appearance on Saturday Night Live. In August 1987, an all-covers extended play, EP, titled the $5.98 EP, Garage Days Revisited was released. The EP was recorded in an effort to use the band's newly constructed recording studio, test Newsted's talents, and to relieve grief and stress following the death of Burton. Video titled Cliff 'Em All commemorating Burton's 3 years in Metallica was released in 1987. The video included bass solos, home videos, and pictures.
And Justice for All in the Black Album, 1988 to 1993.
Metallica's first studio album since Burton's death, And Justice for All, was released in 1988. The album was a commercial success, reaching number 6 on the Billboard 200, and was the band's first album to enter the top 10. The album was certified platinum 9 weeks after its release. There were complaints about the production. Steve Huey of AllMusic said Ulrich's drums were clicking more than thudding, and the guitars buzzed thinly. To promote the album, Metallica embarked on a tour called Damaged Justice. In 1989, Metallica received its first Grammy Award nomination for And Justice for All in the new Best Hard Rock/Metal Performance Vocal or Instrument category. Metallica was the favorite to win, but the award was given to Jethro Tull for the album Crest of a Knave. The award was controversial with fans and the press. Metallica was standing off stage waiting to receive the award after performing the song One. Jethro Tull had been advised by its manager not to attend the ceremony because he was expecting Metallica to win. The award was named in Entertainment Weekly's Grammy's 10 Biggest Upsets. Following the release of Injustice for All, Metallica released its debut music video for the song One, which the band performed in an abandoned warehouse. The footage was remixed with the film Johnny Got His Gun. Rather than organize an ongoing licensing deal, Metallica purchased the rights to the film. The remixed video was submitted to MTV with an alternative, performance-only version that was held back in case MTV banned the remixed version. MTV accepted the remixed version. The video was viewers' first exposure to Metallica. In 1999, it was voted number 38 in MTV's Top 100 Videos of All Time countdown. It was featured in the network's 25th anniversary edition of Ad Video, which showcased the most popular videos on MTV in the last 25 years. In October 1990, Metallica entered one-on-one recording studio in North Hollywood to record its next album. Bob Rock, who had worked with Aerosmith, The Cult, Bon Jovi, and Motley Crue, was hired as the producer. Metallica, also known as the Black Album, was remixed 3 times, cost $1 million, and ended 3 marriages. Although the release was delayed until 1991, Metallica debuted at number 1 in 10 countries, selling 650,000 units in the US during its first week. The album brought Metallica mainstream attention. It has been certified 16 times platinum in the US, which makes it the 25th best-selling album in the country. The making of Metallica and the following tour was documented in A Year and a Half in the Life of Metallica. The tour in support of the album, called the Wherever We May Roam Tour, lasted 14 months, and included dates in the US, Japan, and the UK. In September 1991, 1.6 million rock music fans converged in Moscow to enjoy the first open-air rock concert to be held in the former Soviet Union, part of the Monsters of Rock series. In April 1992, Metallica appeared at the Freddie Mercury tribute concert and performed a 3-song set. Hetfield later performed Stone Cold Crazy with the remaining members of Queen and Tony Iommi. On August 8, 1992, during the co-headlining Guns N' Roses / Metallica Stadium Tour, Hetfield suffered 2nd and 3rd degree burns to his arms, face, hands, and legs. There had been some confusion with the new pyrotechnics setup, which resulted in Hetfield walking into a 12-foot, 3.7 meters flame during Fade to Black. Newsted said Hetfield's skin was bubbling like on the Toxic Avenger. Metallica returned to the stage 17 days later with guitar technician and Metal Church member John Marshall replacing Hetfield on guitar for the remainder of the tour, although Hetfield was able to sing. Later in 1993, Metallica went on the Nowhere Else to Roam tour, playing 5 shows in Mexico City. Live Shit, Binge and Purge, the band's first box set, was released in November 1993. The collection contained 3 live CDs, 3 home videos, and a book filled with riders and letters.
Load, Reload, Garage Incorporated in S&M, 1994 to 1999.
After almost 3 years of touring to promote Metallica, including a headlining performance at Woodstock 94, Metallica returned to the studio to write and record its 6th studio album. The band went on a brief hiatus in the summer of 1995 and played a short tour, Escape from the Studio 95, comprising 3 outdoor shows, including a headline show at Donington Park supported by Slayer, Skid Row, Slash's Snake Pit, Therapy, and Corrosion of Conformity. The band spent about a year writing and recording new songs, resulting in the release of Load in 1996. Load debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 and ARIA charts. It was the band's second number 1 album. The cover art, Blood and Semen 3, was created by Andres Serrano, who pressed a mixture of his own semen and blood between sheets of plexiglass. The release marked a change in the band's musical direction and a new image. The band members' hair was cut. Metallica headlined the alternative rock festival Lollapalooza Festival in mid-1996. During early production of the album, the band had recorded enough material to fill a double album. It was decided that half of the songs were to be released. The band would continue to work on the remaining songs and release them the following year. This resulted in follow-up album titled Reload. The cover art was again created by Serrano, this time using a mixture of blood and urine. Reload debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 and reached number 2 on the top Canadian album chart. Hetfield said in the 2004 documentary film Metallica, Some Kind of Monster, that the band initially thought some of the songs on these albums were of average quality. These were polished and reworked until judged releasable. To promote Reload, Metallica performed Fuel and The Memory Remains with Marianne Faithfull on NBC's Saturday Night Live in December 1997. In 1998, Metallica compiled a double album of cover songs. Garage Incorporated. The first disc contained newly recorded covers of songs by Diamond Head, Killing Joke, The Misfits, Thin Lizzy, Merciful Fate, Black Sabbath, and others. The second disc featured the original version of the $5.98 EP, Garage Days Revisited, which had become a scarce collector's item. The album entered the Billboard 200 at number 2. On April 21 and 22, 1999, Metallica recorded 2 performances with the San Francisco Symphony conducted by Michael Kamen, who had previously worked with producer Rock on Nothing Else Matters. Kamen approached Metallica in 1991 with the idea of pairing the band's music with a symphony orchestra. Kamen and his staff of over 100 composed additional orchestral material for Metallica songs. Metallica wrote 2 new Kamen-scored songs for the event, No Leaf Clover and Human. The audio recording and concert footage were released in 1999 as the album and concert film Sam. It entered the Billboard 200 at number 2 in the Australian ARIA charts and Top Internet Albums chart at number 1.
Napster controversy, Newsted's departure and some kind of monster, 2000 to 2002.
In 2000, Metallica discovered that a demo of its song At Disappear, which was supposed to be released in combination with the Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack, was receiving radio airplay. Tracing the source of the leak, the band found the file on the Napster peer-to-peer file sharing network, and also found that the band's entire catalog was freely available. Legal action was initiated against Napster. Metallica filed a lawsuit at the U.S. District Court, Central District of California, alleging that Napster violated 3 areas of the law: copyright infringement, unlawful use of digital audio interface device, and the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO. Ulrich provided a statement to the Senate Judiciary Committee regarding copyright infringement on July 11, 2000. Federal Judge Marilyn Hall Patel ordered the site to place a filter on the program within 72 hours or be shut down. A settlement between Metallica and Napster was reached when German media conglomerate Bertelsmann BMG showed interest in purchasing the rights to Napster for $94 million. Under the terms of settlement, Napster agreed to block users who shared music by artists who do not want their music shared. On June 3, 2002, Napster filed for Chapter 11 protection under U.S. bankruptcy laws. On September 3, 2002, an American bankruptcy judge blocked the sale of Napster to Bertelsmann and forced Napster to liquidate its assets according to Chapter 7 of the U.S. bankruptcy laws. At the 2000 MTV Video Music Awards, Ulrich appeared with host Marlon Wayans in a skit that criticized the idea of using Napster to share music. Marlon played a college student listening to Metallica's I Disappear. Ulrich walked in and asked for an explanation. Ulrich responded to Wayans' excuse that using Napster was just sharing by saying that Wayans' idea of sharing was borrowing things that were not yours without asking. He called in the Metallica road crew, who proceeded to confiscate all of Wayans' belongings, leaving him almost naked in an empty room. Napster creator Sean Fanning responded later in the ceremony by presenting an award wearing a Metallica shirt, saying, "I borrowed this shirt from a friend. Maybe, if I like it, I'll buy one of my own." Ulrich was later booed on stage at the award show when he introduced the final musical act, Blink-182. Newsted left Metallica on January 17, 2001, as plans were being made to enter the recording studio. He said he left the band for private and personal reasons, and the physical damage I have done to myself over the years while playing the music that I love. During a Playboy interview with Metallica, Newsted said he wanted to release an album with his side project, Echo Brain. Hetfield was opposed to the idea and said, "When someone does a side project, it takes away from the strength of Metallica, and that a side project is like cheating on your wife in a way." Newsted said Hetfield had recorded vocals for a song used in the film South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, and appeared on 2 Corrosion of Conformity albums. Hetfield replied, "My name isn't on those records. And I'm not out trying to sell them," and raised questions such as, where would it end? Does he start touring with it? Does he sell shirts? Is it his band? In April 2001, filmmakers Joe Berlinger and Bruce Sinofsky began following Metallica to document the recording process of the band's next studio album. Over 2 years they recorded more than 1,000 hours of footage. On July 19, 2001, before preparations to enter the recording studio, Hetfield entered rehab to treat his alcoholism and other addictions. All recording plans were put on hold and the band's future was in doubt. Hetfield left rehab on December 4, 2001, 67, and the band returned to the recording studio on April 12, 2002. Hetfield was required to limit his work to 4 hours a day between noon and 4 p.m., and to spend the rest of his time with his family. The footage recorded by Berlinger and Sanofsky was compiled into the documentary Metallica, Some Kind of Monster, which premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in January 2004. In the documentary, Newsted said his former bandmates' decision to hire a therapist to help solve their problems, which he felt they could have solved on their own, was really fucking lame and weak.
Saint Anger and Death Magnetic, 2003 to 2008.
In June 2003, Metallica's eighth studio album, Saint Anger, debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, and drew mixed reactions from critics. Ulrich's steely-sounding snare drum and the absence of guitar solos received particular criticism. Kevin Forrest Moreau of ShakingThrough.net said, "The guitars stumble in a monotone of mid-level, processed rattle, the drums don't propel as much as struggle to disguise an all-too turgid pace, and the rage is both unfocused and leavened with too much narcissistic navel-gazing." Brent DiCrescenzo of Pitchfork described it as an utter mess. However, Blender magazine called it the grimiest and grimmest of the band's Bob Rock productions, and New York Magazine called it utterly raw and rocking. The title track, Saint Anger, won the Grammy Award for Best Metal Performance in 2004. It was used as the official theme song for WWE's SummerSlam 2003. For the duration of Saint Anger's recording period, producer Bob Rock played bass on the album and in several live shows at which Metallica performed during that time. Once the record was completed, the band started to hold auditions for Newsted's permanent replacement. Bassists Pepper Keenan, Geordie White, Scott Reeder, Eric Avery, Danny Lohner, and Chris Wise, among others, auditioned for the role. After 3 months of auditions, Robert Trujillo, formerly of Suicidal Tendencies and Ozzy Osbourne's band, was chosen as the new bassist. Newsted, who had joined Canadian thrash metal band Voivod by that time, was Trujillo's replacement in Osbourne's band during the 2003 Ozfest tour, which included Voivod. Before the band set at the 2004 Download Festival, Ulrich was rushed to the hospital after having an anxiety seizure and was unable to perform. Hetfield searched for last-minute volunteers to replace Ulrich. Slayer drummer Dave Lombardo and Slipknot drummer Joey Jordison volunteered. Lombardo performed Battery and the Four Horsemen, Ulrich's drum technician Fleming Larson performed Fade to Black, and Jordison performed the remainder of the set. Having toured for 2 years in support of Saint Anger on the Summer Sanitarium Tour 2003 and the Madly in Anger with the World Tour, with multi-platinum rock band Godsmack in support, Metallica took a break from performing and spent most of 2005 with friends and family. The band opened for the Rolling Stones at SBC Park in San Francisco on November 13 and 15, 2005. In December 2006, Metallica released a DVD titled The Videos 1989 to 2004, which sold 28,000 copies in its first week and entered the Billboard Top Videos chart at number 3. Metallica recorded a guitar-based interpretation of Ennio Morricone's The Ecstasy of Gold for a tribute album titled We All Love Ennio Morricone, which was released in February 2007. The track received a Grammy nomination at the 50th Grammy Awards for the category Best Rock Instrumental Performance. A recording of The Ecstasy of Gold has been played to introduce Metallica's performances since the 1980s. Earlier that year, Metallica announced on its official website that after 15 years, longtime producer Bob Rock would not be producing the band's next studio album. Instead, the band chose to work with producer Rick Rubin. Metallica scheduled the release of Death Magnetic as September 12, 2008, and the band filmed a music video for the album's first single, The Day That Never Comes. On September 2, 2008, a record store in France began selling copies of Death Magnetic nearly 2 weeks before its scheduled worldwide release date, which resulted in the album being made available on peer-to-peer clients. This prompted the band's UK distributor Vertigo Records to officially release the album on September 10, 2008. Rumors of Metallica or Warner Brothers taking legal action against the French retailer were unconfirmed, though drummer Lars Ulrich responded to the leak by saying, "We're 10 days from release. I mean, from here we're golden. If this thing leaks all over the world today or tomorrow, happy days. Happy days. Trust me, and by 2008 standards, that's a victory. If you told me 6 months ago that our record wouldn't leak until 10 days out, I would have signed up for that." Death Magnetic debuted at number 1 in the US, selling 490,000 units. Metallica became the first band to have 5 consecutive studio albums debut at number 1 in the history of the Billboard 200. A week after its release, Death Magnetic remained at number 1 on the Billboard 200 in the European album chart. It also became the fastest-selling album of 2008 in Australia. Death Magnetic remained at number 1 on the Billboard 200 album chart for 3 consecutive weeks. Metallica was one of 2 artists whose album, the other being Jack Johnson's album Sleep Through the Static, remained on the Billboard 200 for 3 consecutive weeks at number 1 in 2008. Death Magnetic also remained at number 1 on Billboard's hard rock, modern rock/alternative and rock album charts for 5 consecutive weeks. The album reached number 1 in 32 countries outside the US, including the UK, Canada, and Australia. In November 2008, Metallica's record deal with Warner Brothers ended and the band considered releasing its next album through the internet.
This sums up part 1 of this video. Listen to part 2 by following the links below.
We hope you enjoyed this reading of Metallica's wiki page. On part number 2 we will read the history of Metallica from 2009 to the present. Metallica entering the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The unexpected comeback of Jason Newsted. How Metallica is doing during the times of the pandemic and the recently released S&M number 2. Lastly, their legacy and influence.
Please help us grow our channel by subscribing and joining our Patreon. Hit the like button if you liked the video and leave us your wiki page reading requests in the comments. Thank you for watching. See you in part number 2.